This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On Air.
Yes, tech is good for Māori, but Māori is good for tech. And what I mean by that is a lot of this Indigenous wisdom is there for everyone. It's actually a way to take care of everyone through that as well. To remember and to acknowledge our connectedness, to know how we take care of people, and seeing that echoed in leadership around the world, Indigenous leadership around the world is something that's further cemented that for me. They give us a framework that has been tried and tested through the ages, through thousands of years. They are humanly sustainable. They are about honouring the cycles of time and making sure that it is about balance, not burnout.
Hello and welcome back to Making Work Better, the show that reminds you it's time to stop fracking human resources and to make work humanly sustainable. I'm Denise Quinlan, and today I'm joined by Dan Te Whenua Walker, proud member of 5 iwi, Ngā Te Ruanui, Ngā Te Ruahinerangi, Ngā Tikanga, Ki Wairoa, Tūhaurangi and Maniapoto. Dan works at Microsoft New Zealand, where I'm told he is a cloud infrastructure and application solutions lead. I'm not quite sure what that means, but more on that later. Dan was also responsible for setting up Microsoft's first Indigenous employee resource group and has been working with Indigenous employees of Microsoft through North and South America. As someone who understands and lives the values of Te Ao Māori, and who's got a long track record of working in sales and tech in Pākehā, New Zealand, I wanted to ask Dan about the role of Indigenous culture in making work better. Dan, haere mai ki te hui nei.
Tēnā koe Denise, ngā mihi mō tō whakatau, ki au. Thank you so much for your welcome and for allowing me to come on here.
Oh, I'm delighted. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I know you're a busy man. Now, before we dive into my questions, whether do you want to do your pepeha, or what is it that you would like listeners to know about you before we start talking?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you, Denise. Tēnā koutou, e aku rangatira, kua wakarongo i tēnei hui. Kia ora everyone who's listening. Lovely to connect through this podcast. Ko waiau, who am I? He uri waki ki au no ngā iwi kei raro e te koro ai e te maunga tito ea, ara ko te waka Aotea. Ko titoko waru te tangata, ko manu ia kai te apu, ko te aroa te pā, ko ngā tirua nui, ngā roe ene oku iwi. Ko tōku kuia no Ngāti Kahungunu ki Wairoa me Tūhaurangi, ko tōku koro no Maniapoto me Tainui, ko tōku papa no ngā kaupaku Kitoria, ko Ngāti Pākehā, tōna iwi, ka puta mai ko au ko Dan Te Whenua Walker. So kia ora everyone, my name is Dan, I come from Taranaki, South Taranaki in particular. I come from a place in particular for the main connection is to Hāwara and the main areas around that, which is where my tūpuna have a strong connection to, and where my koro and my nana grew up. We have a papakainga, or a house very close to our marae, Taipore he nui, and also Te Aroha Pā is where we have whenua, or land connection as well. But we have connections all over the North Island in terms of through my Māori whakapapa. But Mum moved down to Christchurch with the Māori Trade Training Scheme, as did all of her brothers and sisters, and we grew up down there. That's where I grew up in particular. My mum met Dad, who's proud Scottish, Irish and Kiwi, and I grew up down in Christchurch. So have a strong connection to my Irish and Scottish whakapapa. Got to go back there before COVID as well and connect with my whānau on that side of the world, and that's a whole, that for me that felt like another version of Te Ao Māori, to be honest. It was beautiful and just helped cement me in who I am as a person, knowing actually I'm I am Māori, but I'm also Scottish and Irish. I'm also Kiwi. Who am I as Dan? And that's been a long journey of who connecting with that whakapapa as well, of Dan Walker, who I am. But I'm also a dad, most importantly, dad to Josh, Tyler, and Maya, husband to Michelle, proud of my whānau, and proud son, brother, uncle, cousin, and friend as well. And that's what makes me who I am. So lovely to be here. Kia ora, everyone. Hope everyone is well, and great to be here with you, Denise.
Kia ora, Dan. And I think it's so lovely and so important to allow us to be known fully for who we are, because like you say, I'm a daughter. Before I'm anything else, I'm a daughter and a granddaughter, and now I'm a mum and a partner, and those things have shaped who I am much more than any professional qualification I've ever got.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's why I look at LinkedIn profiles, and we of course we've got to put in who we are and stuff. But if I say my first job, and the first job for me anyway is to be a good dad, and making sure that my kids are proud of the dad that they've got, is my first job, and that also flows through to being a good partner, husband, man, person to Michelle, and so that we've got that strong whānau. But I know that I might change it at some point, but at the moment that's my key role in terms of in my life.
And that's actually why we're here, in that the Making Work Better podcast is about making work humanly sustainable, so that parents can go home and be parents, and people can go home and have lives. And I think at its core, it's saying a human life is so much more important than a person doing a job. And we can't use a person up on a job and leave them with nothing for their life and those other roles that really matter so much.
Totally. I love that.
So, Dan, I want to say congratulations on your recent
thank you.
achievements. I want to talk about your masters in Indigenous Leadership and the ERG. So let's dive in with the masters and tell us about that and what was involved, why you did it, and what you learned.
Oh, thank you, Denise. That was the last couple of years have been a real journey in terms of going back into academia and needing to do the essays and the study and the referencing and all that stuff that I know that
While working.
Yeah. While working, yes. But I saw, do you know Rangi Mata Moa?
Yeah.
So my friend had just started it, and I've got a lot of friends now who have done that masters in Māori and Indigenous Leadership. And I was thinking, I don't need a master's. It's, if I was approaching it from this is my CV and this is what I need to go to the next step, I don't need a master's. But actually, they were opening up an Auckland cohort. That was the first. And they were also, Rangi was the po for that, the leader for that. And it was going to be monthly wānanga, weekends, wānanga at a marae. And,
how could you say no?
How could you say no? And there's not many opportunities where you get to be around Rangi, first of all.
He's the man who gave us, he's responsible for us having Matariki as a public holiday, really.
Right. Yes, that's right.
He's just such a national treasure, I think.
And he has, in that Matariki kōrero, he's got so much mātauranga Māori wisdom that he's managed to, through his koro and his dad and so many leaders that he's managed to learn from, he's brought that well-being wisdom to us today. So I thought, I've got to do this. I don't have time, but I've got to do this, and I'm very glad that I did. and the fact that I managed to bring my flavor to it, which was kaupapa Māori AI. So if we could bring our knowledge, our tikanga, our culturally grounded approaches to AI, how could we make that work? And could we bring a more personal journey in AI to benefiting not just us but all of us? Um, a deeper purpose to AI rather than just uh,
Save you 10
the
minutes.
profit motive.
Yeah. Or for the consumer motive of, oh, you can do more quick.
Consumer.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Does it have to be about productivity? Does it have to be about a, a journey of doing things more efficiently, more
An
effectively?
extractive model.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so that led me down the path of creating an AI for us, for our whānau, which is called Te Rau Huia. And that's my nana's name. While it isn't my nana, it's got some of the elements of her in terms of a focused knowledge on taranaki, which she had, a focused knowledge on our whānau connections to different marae, and stories, a few stories connecting us to those marae, to those ancestors, and helping us. Because, for me, Denise, I grew up with a Pākehā dad and a Māori mum, and while they love me, I didn't have a strong connection when I was growing up to both. I didn't feel like I belonged, and um, it was that disconnection that led me down some pretty negative experiences, and I see some of that disconnection not just with our whānau, but happening all around us.
Completely.
Um, and so if I can see my nana was my pathway back to
Yeah.
myself. And so if we can create a pathway and a connection for others, particularly starting with our whānau, that was the purpose. The big takeaway really is that, our I think we don't like you say, it doesn't have to be about fast-paced extractive growth.
Yeah.
You can create these in a digital world, a deep-rooted,
Connective.
intergenerational, connected focus, and that was the purpose of my thesis.
I'm so excited by this and the potential for it growing so are all your whānau able to contribute to that AI, to the
Yes,
stories you don't know that someone else knows that they could put in and
yes, and so it's actually created for us, our whānau, and this is the other thing in terms of
oh,
why. If you go back to why AI is created, a lot of it is, if it comes back to it, it really is about the yeah more of or a profit focus or extractive focus, as you say. But this is actually just something that will live within our whānau and will be added to over the years. So my dream would be that my great great mokopuna will be able to connect with Te Rau Huia, and by that time, maybe they'll be able to see a avatar of Nana, and hear her voice because we've got recordings of her voice and the way she speaks, but more so she'll be able to pass down wisdom and things from today, but she'll also be connected to their time, so she'll be able to speak in their, make it relevant for
yeah.
them. Maybe they'll have a different language. Maybe they'll be speaking a different language, but it'll be something that sits in our whānau trust and handed down. So like pounamu, this pounamu
Yeah.
being handed down, and the belief that from a Māori perspective that we add to it, we add our mauri or our life force
Yeah.
to it, and it gets handed down. Hopefully that
This
will
is
be
the
like this
digital
now.
tonga.
It'll be the digital taonga that we'll be able to hand down, and mauri will be added as it goes
And
down.
people contributing. This is so beautiful. And if we think
Right.
about what can Te Ao Māori contribute to
Yeah.
the world of work, what you've said there for me is huge because it's everything you're describing is about kaupapa first, about purpose, and that the purpose is relational, not extractive or profit driven.
Mm, mm.
That's big.
And I think kaupapa Māori approaches is um, it thinks broader than just a a singular focus. It has to take the community along the journey. It has to take our environment along the journey as well, and it can't not connect with all of those different aspects. It has to bring culture. It has to bring emotional health. It needs to be thinking of all of these different aspects because the kaupapa Māori is intrinsically connected to all of those. I've been told from my kuia that it's, I mean, and even the term kaupapa Māori is something that's kind of been applied to it. It just is Māori. It is a mirror or a reflection of who we are, and we and these different reflections are also that they're like shimmers or like a a way to remember who we are. Um, and pathways, the pathways back to who we are.
What else would you say were the big takeaways for you of this Masters in Indigenous Leadership? In what way do you think it shaped you or helped inform how you are with your leadership now?
I believe that our journey through leadership is, or for me anyway, is stepping more into myself, and so what I mean by that is throughout my life, I've always, as I said before, never felt like I belonged because I was a part of this culture and a part of this culture and even a part of this corporate culture and this tech culture and stepping deeper into my purpose is knowing that I I am actually all of those and I'm not one or the other. And that was more of a learning within this journey of the Māori and Indigenous leadership part is such a personal journey, um, because the leadership is about you stepping into your own skin more. We talked about Dame Whenua.
Yeah.
She was so strong in who she was,
It was her.
and she was her, but she also wasn't trying to be anyone else. She wasn't trying to fit in the realm of what leadership means from a Stanford University perspective or an American perspective or maybe a generally accepted. And even I had one of my whānau saying, "Oh, so I just wouldn't think that Māori would have their own leadership. This is more of a Harvard thing." And I was like, actually,
Whoa.
there's so many leadership principles. It wasn't called leadership per se, but these are beautiful values that they were there from the dawn of time to the end of time, and they're actually there for everyone. They're not there for just me to embrace. They're there for all of us. And yes, they do run counter to maybe what we may think of as epitomized as leadership from a American perspective or others. That they're just us. And I don't know if he got it, but it was still a good conversation to have.
But to me, it's like it's about being a good human.
Yeah.
That this sense that to be a good leader it's not a quick tick. It's not something that someone else gives you a stamp to say you've done the work. you've got to do the heavy lifting of putting your own psychological house in order, of knowing who you are,
Yeah.
why you're here, who you're trying to help, what you're called to do, what you see the need is. It's deeply
Mm,
personal, isn't it?
it is. It is. And it's also being a good follower too. Good followership is also good leadership. And I look at a lot of our kaupapa Māori, for instance. You look at, for Taranaki, we had parihaka. We
Yeah,
still have parihaka. And parihaka is a journey of also good followership.
yeah.
Um, you don't have to be a leader per se, and there's very few people who would claim the mantle of leader. I'm the leader of parihaka,
Yeah.
saying from a I guess the traditional forms, I guess, from an academic perspective, of this is what a leader is. A leader, I would say, would be those ones who uphold the pai or make sure that our kai is ready on time for visitors. They'll make sure that we welcome people well onto the marae. They make sure that we keep everything clean and cared for so that when people stay, they stay in a nice bed.
Mm.
That's leadership. It's very much of a leader as someone who claims the mantle of
Doing
being
the Whai Kōrero,
the
or yeah,
CEO.
yeah,
Oh, you've
yeah.
been the Whai Kōrero, yeah, yeah, definitely. I think this masters was it was a growth opportunity for me to um, to reconnect in different ways and remember who I am.
Mm.
Because I still think waka papa has memory. Our ancestry has memory, but waka papa is more than ancestry. Our memory comes through that whole connection piece. So, it's more than just a master's, I would say. It was so much more of a growth opportunity for me,
Yeah.
Denise, and I
As
feel
stepping
very privileged
into,
stepping into.
yeah,
Yeah, I believe that these different spaces can be platforms for doing good for the communities that we serve, and that was the key for me, was actually creating um, seeing if I could use this as a platform to bring some benefits back home, but not just home as Taranaki, but home as my whānau,
yeah,
home as my work. My work is my home. My different communities that I represent, like Child Cancer Foundation, my my school, all these different boards that I'm on. How can I bring this into those spaces as well? So, um, yeah, really trying to make the most of the learning, and I saw that so much in this with others that were in on the journey in this as well. So I got to learn from them too.
I think your project of the AI sits beautifully in that as another way of connecting people,
Mm.
connecting and reconnecting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and connecting is and and reconnecting is a real um it's a bit of a space that we're in battle mode for at the moment. We're very connected, as has been said by many, but we're also getting increasingly disconnected. Um, and I hope that we can take some of these learnings as just other ways of connecting.
Yeah.
Um, and while we must adopt these new technology opportunities, and whether it be social media, whether it be the likes of LinkedIn, not forgetting that there are deeper parts of ourselves that need connection too. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
you know,
This is one facet, and that's all it is.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And podcast is another way of
Yeah.
connecting as well. And but also connecting to the awa, connecting to the moana, the sea, connecting to our mountains. Um, these are all built into our wakatoki, or our proverbs
Yeah.
that talk about return back to those spaces and connect with the wind there, connect with the sand, connect with the water, because these are ways of remembering or pathways back to ourselves as well.
Yeah, yeah. And now, if we move on down to, you said, yes, your masters helped you bring things to all the different whānau that you operate with, and one of those was at work. Tell us about the ERG and how you came to set up an Indigenous employee resource group.
Well, that was when I first started at Denise at Microsoft. There were two Māori, so very, very limited space for our tangata whenua, and that it's not just Microsoft. That is a situation for many of our tech companies where Māori just haven't really focused on this space. It's not been an area where our elders have sent a lot of our up and comers anyway. They sort of get funneled into key areas. It's been
Health,
law. Law has been a big part
law and
because
health.
yeah, law and health, yeah, but also education has been
Yeah, oh
a
yeah,
part,
yeah.
and even government in general. So that's where a lot of our real amazing talent has gone, and we just haven't seen tech as a space to go to. And a part of it is the values piece. It's
Yeah.
there's definitely a values disconnect in terms of share price or the focus on
What's that
monetary
going to do
outcomes.
for our people?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So even if Māori go there, they don't always last or they move on. And if you don't have role models there, if you don't see yourself reflected there, then we don't send a lot of our young ones there. Um, but when I first started, I thought, this is. I felt quite moki or alone, and even though it was a great opportunity, and I was turning 40 at the time, so um, I was at a point where I had maturity enough to know that I can still operate in these environments, even if I am one of the only
Yeah.
Māori. Uh, the good thing is we had leadership within Microsoft, people like Vanessa, people like Emma, um, Brendan Bain, Samir, so people within Microsoft New Zealand who were open to it, and
Yeah.
they were keen to see more of our Māori culture infused within Microsoft Aotearoa. So we went down the track of um, and there had been good work done by certain people as well. So I want to recognise that I wasn't sort of coming in fresh to just me doing this. There were others who were doing good work too. So I managed to be able to build a whānau to be able to create momentum for something. Initially, I wanted to create a Māori at Microsoft
Yeah.
kind of rōpū, but with very few Māori, that wasn't going to be achievable. And then there was this amazing young intern, actually. Her name was Anita. She was part Tongan, part Indian, and just an amazing just force.
Yeah.
And she was in the HR space, and she was saying, "Hey, there's these ERGs, employee resource groups, which are our global diversity pillars." She went through. We've got women at Microsoft. Um, we've got Ola, which is our Latin, our South American Latin Indigenous whānau, and we've got all these others. And woman at Microsoft was the strongest by far. But we said, could we create an Indigenous at Microsoft? And so we connected with some Native Americans. They were already on the kaupapa as well. So it was actually the work of many people, not just me,
Mhm.
but many people who created Indigenous at Microsoft. And so I just want to recognize that while I was sort of a big part of the
Mhm.
journey, there was amazing people who drove that in America, Native Americans, some Indigenous Canadians. We had some Hawaiians, Samoans, just amazing people
Wonderful.
who were doing great work. But over the course of 6 months, we launched Indigenous at Microsoft, and it was the first ERG to be launched in 10 years at Microsoft. So it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And yeah, we launched with about 40 of us. Now I believe there's over 3,500 within our ERG.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what is the purpose of the ERG and what has it done so far?
But the purpose was initially it was about that connection.
Yeah.
That was my focus anyway. How can we find other people
And
who
belong.
think like us, who have similar values,
Mm.
but also create a safe space where they can belong, as you say. And that's so much my journey of belonging
Yeah.
to these spaces and feeling strong enough to be connecting in these spaces as well. Um, and it was so building a network of people to honor who we are and their different tribal roots
Mm.
and stand together in solidarity. That was sort of the focus. We got a mission statement, which was to honor, share, and celebrate Indigenous cultures within Microsoft and across Mother Earth, while um, shaping inclusive Indigenous values within our technology. So putting an Indigenous lens across our technologies, so we could see ourselves reflected in that. And that
That's
was
huge. That is a huge
that
mission.
was huge. Yeah, and I and then they were like, oh, we need a co-chair for this, and Willow was she's Native American. She was put her name forward, and after a lot of talking with my whānau and others, I put my name forward, and yeah, I was named the inaugural global co-chair of Indigenous at Microsoft, and just seeing the growth of that, not just within the group, the ERG, but outside of the ERG. Um, you know, Satya Nadella, who is our global CEO, uh, I got to I got to meet him, through that, and Brad Smith, who is he's sort of like the second in charge. I've met him multiple times through this journey as well. I've spoken on uh, a different podcasts and different experiences, so that's been an amazing journey of seeing how we can help work with the culture of Microsoft to have an impact on the culture of Microsoft wider than just the ERG. That's been the beautiful part of it.
And I'm listening to your mission and going, I'm broader than that. There's also what Microsoft does.
Mm.
And I can see what you described as your whānau AI, named after your beautiful grandmother. That's one way that your Indigenous background shapes a way that Microsoft can work, a way that AI can work. But I guess, and my hope from the outside, quite frankly, is that what you learned on your master's, what you describe, which I think is the essence of Te Māori, that thing of being aware that everyone is connected, that no one is on their own, that what you're doing is shaping your community, and your community is shaping your planet, and we're all responsible for all of this.
Mm.
If that sense of awareness and responsibility can make its way into the way we work and the products we make, that's pretty significant.
Well, I look at the Aotearoa keyboard, Denise, that we again another amazing early in career
Yeah.
girl, Ali, who said, "Hey, she was a linguist. She'd studied linguistics in university, and she's like, hey, I'd love for us to create a Māori keyboard." So we created the Aotearoa keyboard. Again, there's no lack of amazing people within Microsoft. And what I've found too, Denise, that if you have a vision for something, saying, I'd
Yeah.
love to do this, it's not about money. It's about just work, sweat equity that you've got to put into it.
Yeah.
you can actually create these things within Microsoft and other places too that can have an amazing effect globally. And so we've seen that the
Fascinating.
Aotearoa keyboard has been adopted globally. It
That's
got
amazing.
launched with Windows 11,
Yeah.
um, and at last count, over 30,000 people are using the Aotearoa keyboard. And that was just a dream of wanting to do something, and we got it set up.
And I think that to me is so important because in a way that's how anything happens, isn't it? Somebody really
Yeah.
wants it and pushes. And and someone isn't waiting to be told what to do and to complete the tasks on their list that someone else gave them. They're saying, I want this. And I've
Mm.
got a vision for how things could be better. And let me do it.
Yeah, but also taking people along the journey with you as well, so that
Mm.
um, I think the the key was I had good sponsors
Yeah.
in Microsoft. I do count Vanessa as our country manager as a very strong sponsor for me, who is supportive um, of helping clear the way for
Yeah.
me as well.
Yeah.
And not just her, there's a part of setting up the ERG was having exec sponsors. So people who are at the top table are exec sponsors for the ERG. They have helped clear the way in their own ways as well.
And
And
that's strategically savvy as well, isn't it? It's
yes,
saying let's acknowledge how organizations work, and if something isn't going to wither on the vine, what needs to happen?
yes, yes. And
And
I think that's been a key success factor is having people who are willing to um to support and uplift,
uphold, yeah.
uphold. Mm.
And I think the word you used is really important of clearing the way.
Yeah.
They're in front of them, they're like, yeah, here he comes, and we're doing this. And we all need those people in our lives. And, there is conversation around minorities and prejudice where we talk about headwinds and tailwinds. And some of us are facing more headwinds than others, and some of us have got advantageous tailwinds. And the people who can clear a way for you they kind of create a tailwind as well. They make it easier.
Yes. And there's a great story on that in terms of Vanessa when she heard about this Indigenous ERG. She said, "Okay, so who's the key guy? Who's the key person for this?" And it was a guy called Chris who he's from Canada and just had a passion for the whole supporting Indigenous. He'd also been involved in getting one of the Indigenous languages into Microsoft
Mhm.
as well. And so he was just a really strong supporter of it, but he was also a VP, a global VP. He's
Mhm.
the guy that helped start OneNote, which
Oh,
you
okay.
heard of OneNote? Yeah. So he was a big hitter. She was going over to Seattle. She organized to meet him and said, "Hey, we really want to do this. Dan is keen to drive this." And he's like, "Yep, I'll connect you up with these people." Through him, we got connected to NAMA, which is the Native Americans at Microsoft. There was about 20 or so of them, and that was the sort of genesis of bringing it together. But if we didn't have her
Yeah.
purposely pushing and driving at those early stages, I don't think we would have. Maybe we would have got there, but it would have taken a lot longer.
Mm.
So getting those allies, those really at the exec level, but also at at all levels of the organization is so crucial when you want to create positive change within
Mm.
any organization, I think, and especially when you're trying to impact culture and you want to create value, not just moral values, but business value comes through having all of those different aspects working.
Isn't it interesting? Like the words that are flying around my head, allyship, connectors, bridges, the relational piece, quite how important all of that is to enabling this kind of progress to happen.
Massive,
Yeah.
massive, definitely.
And Dan, if I think about the work that I've been doing and I'll give you the 10-second potted summary. Felt that people needed more hope about how we can make work better, and thought, I'm going to go out and find who are the organizations who are actually making work better already, and let's see if we can synthesize what they're doing. And I had some deep conversations with some fabulous organizations from around the country. And the 5 themes, when I analyzed them, 5 themes that really jumped out that these organizations, the things they were doing that are making things better for people and for performance were listening. The listening, transparency, and co-designing solutions was one of them. The second was a culture of care and support. Third was being willing to adopt new ways of working, willing to change things to make it better for people. The fourth was fostering a deeper sense of purpose and belonging for their staff. And the last one was future fit leadership through empowerment, connection, and collaboration.
I think, that what you're saying there, Denise, that's tikanga in action. It's just where mātauranga is shared through kōrero, whai kōrero. We don't make unilateral decisions, that they come through consensus, and we weave, the option, the whole thing of whai.
Rāranga.
Yep, rāranga, rangatira, tūranga is to weave, and tira is people, but also even the whai, we follow through followership is that part again, and how we manaaki, how we care for people, how we uplift and carry others, recognize mana enhancement rather than just being about mana, increasing mauri and mana as well. Just all of those different themes, they really resonate.
So really, what you're saying is, in working in Te Māori, working with Tikanga, working from a Mataranga Māori perspective, this is just how it is.
Well, I think they give us a framework that has been tried and tested through the ages, through thousands of years. They are humanly sustainable. They are about honoring the cycles of time, and making sure that it is about balance, not burnout. That futurism can very much be about the looking back as well, and bringing that wisdom into the now can very much be a way of working. I've learned that more and more through the years, and it's a whole well-being framework, Denise, that has helped me to survive in these corporate environments, because I see it as a way to help all of us move forward. And I often say, yes, tech is good for Māori, but Māori is good for tech. And what I mean by that is a lot of this Indigenous wisdom is there for everyone. It's actually a way to take care of everyone through that as well, to remember and to acknowledge our connectedness, to know how we take care of people, and seeing that echoed in leadership around the world, Indigenous leadership around the world is something that's further cemented that for me. We have whakapapa, where we think backwards and forwards as well, and very much the intentionality of what we do today, when we think about those generations to come.
7th generation thinking.
7th generation thinking, 7 generations down, 7 generations back, and the benefits that we have today is because those generations back were thinking about intentionally us, and the benefits that flow back to us have to flow down as well. That's incredibly powerful, and also empowering of what we do today for the future. That is also it removes the short-term
Yeah,
focus of uh, a profit focused. Profit can also come in many different ways. It doesn't have to be in financial uh, side of things. It can also be in terms of the way that my river back home is improved
yeah.
through planting, riparian
Riparian
planting,
planting, or
and or the way that we impose a rahui over a certain place to just bring it back to
protect it.
health. All of those things are actually that's for me is wealth in another way as well.
And if what's how do we bring this in? How do we bring this way of thinking into our short-term, profit-driven workplaces?
Well, I see the connectedness that comes through our ERG was one example
Yeah.
of a platform to create relational equity, I guess, between thousands of employees around the world, and um, within that space, we are thinking more than just the profit of our company. We're also thinking about people. We're also thinking about land, culture, and learning.
Mm.
And if we can embed that thinking, uh, start embedding it outside of this group, then I think that can actually start creating change because that's a whole concept of wānanga. When good people come together under the right kaupapa, then amazing things can happen. And I truly believe there's power in that. And so my hope is that as we innovate, especially with AI, especially when we start stepping into the ways that AI is going to disrupt many different areas of our society, um, we start unlocking a deeper way um, of being in these
Mm.
spaces as well, and ensuring that we think deeper than just um, the quarterly profit
Yeah, today
result.
on the bottom line,
Yes, yes,
and humans as expendable resources. Yeah.
yeah, and just productivity for productivity's sake as well.
If there was one thing you'd want the average New Zealand workplace to adopt to make work better for people, what would it be? What would be the first step?
Oh, I mean, the ERG is a good example of it, Denise, where creating space and not just calendar space, not just physical space, but cultural space, creating spaces of culture to allow your people to bring their authentic selves. It's just so powerful, and these small shifts can create massive waves, and um, they can create big shifts in culture. Uh, I've seen it personally, and when I first started, Vanessa was my final interview, and I said I can't start without a porphyry. I have to have a porphyry, and I was testing her out. If she said no, we can't do that. We just don't do that. I'd have been fine, but I just wanted to try it, and she said, yeah, we can do that. We can do that. I don't know how we'll do it, but we'll do it. And she got Ngāti Whātua in, and yeah, we did a porphyry, and then after that, for all of our inductions, MS 101, we did porphyry. And we still do porphyry today. So if
Beautiful.
an international person comes in uh, from overseas, they get a porphyry because we want to make sure that they know that they're
Where
coming.
they are.
Yeah, they are coming to New Zealand and they get a porphyry. And our global head for she's the global head of Azure. She's Canadian, and her name is Erin. It was a beautiful experience where she just you could tell she felt the porphyry experience. It was deeper than just a welcome. Um, and unfortunately, one of her loved ones had passed just recently. So when we went through that process, through a porphyry, we always acknowledge those loved ones who have moved on, and but also recognise them for who they are. And she burst into tears, and the point of it though was not to make her feel bad, but that just instantly she wasn't an executive, a global Microsoft executive. She was a person. She was welcome, and whoever she is, she's good enough in who she is, just by her being her. And then she told us about her journey of what she'd just been through, and you could tell, there wasn't a dry eye in the.
And have you all made a superficial connection, or do you suddenly feel much deeper connected and known to each other?
Too. Yeah. And she messaged me. Well, she's been messaging me ever since in terms of just all sorts of things. She's like, I experienced this, and I want to bring my family back. It was much bigger than just a welcome to New Zealand.
And I guess to people who are afraid of this, I always want to say, what's on offer here is connection. What's on offer here is making a little bit of time for more human connection. And we know that until we're connected, we cannot be at our best. We can't deliver our best work. We can't feel safe.
Yes.
And why would you not want to do this? Yeah.
It's also it's a whole world view of that you can bring into these spaces that is unique to us as New Zealanders. It's something that we should feel so proud of, because it's just for us, and we can actually use it as well to create change at a global level. If
I want to remind everyone listening that Dan is saying us as a Perth, Scottish, Irish,
totally.
5 iwi, like all of your iwi, all of your Pākehā side. This is us. This is available to us. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I often say it's our Kiwi unique competitive advantage.
Yeah.
Not that it's about competing, but it's actually it's unique to us, and it's beautiful, and it's legacy, it's leadership, it's connection, it's diversity and inclusion, it's all of that stuff, but
it's connection, it's sustainability, it's planetary and human sustainability.
But it doesn't need all those labels. It's just us. Yeah.
Oh, what a beautiful way to finish.
Yeah.
Dan Te Whenua, thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you so much, Denise. I really love the kōrero and just the opportunity to connect. You do so much in this space, so I want to recognise all of your amazing mahi in this space too, your amazing work, and how much you truly believe in this, in changing our organisations for the better, for humans, for all of us, for the world.
We've got to do it, don't we?
We do. Thank you,
Dan. I really appreciate that. You've been listening to Making Work Better, recorded for ORFM Dunedin. To learn more about how you can make work better for yourself, your team, or your workplace, keep listening to this series and go to nziwr.co.nz to download your free copy of the Making Work Better report. Thanks for listening today. If you've enjoyed the show, please rate the podcast to help others who might benefit from it find it more easily.
This podcast was produced by ORFM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.